All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about something pretty profound and honestly, a little challenging. We're going to explore that direct connection between our own personal sin and what happens when God's support seems to just disappear. We'll be looking at some really powerful stories from the Bible to see how this plays out.
So right off the bat, we've got this verse from Isaiah that just sets the stage perfectly. It tells us that sin isn't just a simple mistake. No, it's something that actively creates a barrier, a real separation between you and God. The idea here isn't that God suddenly can't help. It's that our sin, literally, as the text says, hides his face from us. So how does this actually work in the real world? Well, let's start big. We're going to look at how the sin of just one person can affect an entire nation, a nation that was promised total victory. This is the incredible story of Joshua and the battle for a little town called Ai. I mean, just look at this. The contrast is absolutely staggering. On one hand, you have this unbelievable ironclad promise from God to Joshua, you're going to win everywhere you go. And on the other hand, the shocking reality, a humiliating defeat by a tiny, seemingly insignificant enemy. So you gotta ask, right? What happened here? How was that even possible? This is the very same question that Joshua himself cried out to God. Why? Why did that promised support just evaporate when they needed it the most? And the answer that comes back from God, wow. It's simple, but it is just gut-wrenching. There was hidden sin in the camp. A single person doing one thing in secret had managed to completely sever the entire nation's lifeline to God's power. Okay, so that's what happens to a nation. But this principle doesn't just apply to big groups. It's just as powerful for individuals, especially leaders, the people at the top. So let's look at the personal stories of two of Israel's biggest names, Moses and Saul. First, let's think about Moses. This is a man who literally spoke with God, who was promised that God's actual presence would go with him. And yet, one single act of disobedience, just one moment, cost him everything he'd worked for his entire life. He got to see the promised land, but he was never allowed to step foot in it. And then there's King Saul. His story is like a textbook case study of how it all goes wrong. You can literally watch it happen in 4 clear, tragic steps. He starts at the very peak, chosen by God himself. But then pride creeps in, which leads to disobedience. And the result? It's swift and severe. God withdraws his support, and the kingdom is taken away, just like that. All right, for our final story, we're looking at a name you probably know really well, Samson. This is one of the most personal and tragic examples in the entire Bible. He was a man who was basically a superhero, destined for incredible things, and he just threw it all away. Samson's whole life is this massive warning sign about the danger of compromise. He was always playing with fire, constantly pushing the boundaries and breaking the sacred vows that were the source of his strength. And underneath it all was this fatal assumption he made. He thought God's support was unconditional, that it would be there no matter what he did. And this right here, this quote, is maybe the most chilling part of his entire story. When his enemies finally trap him, he gets up to fight like he always has, but he did not know that the Lord had departed from him. Can you imagine that? He had become so spiritually numb, so disconnected, he didn't even realize the power was gone until it was too late. Okay, so these are old stories, right? Joshua, Moses, Samson. What does any of this have to do with us, right now, today? Well, this is where it gets really personal. This is the warning for us.
It is so easy to fall into this trap, to think, well, everything seems fine in my life. Things on the surface are normal. We start to believe that what we do in secret, the things nobody sees, doesn't really have any consequences. But these stories are screaming at us. Nothing goes unnoticed. God is definitely taking records.
And that leads us to a really crucial, urgent point. It's not just a suggestion, it's a command. The time to make a change is right now. Repent today. Don't wait until it's too late, before that divine support is pulled away for good. So after all of this, it really all boils down to one final, deeply personal question. It's something you've got to ask yourself, and you've got to be honest. Are you doing anything right now that will cause God to withdraw his support from you?